What if I told you your life doesn't need years to change? It needs just 7 minutes. 7 minutes that, if neglected, slowly drain your heart, and if protected, can realign everything. The real question isn't how old you are, it's how many minutes have you truly lived awake. Some morning, you wake up exhausted, not because you didn't sleep, but because your soul hasn't rested in a long time. Days repeat themselves. Prayers are performed, yet the heart feels absent. Words of remembrance are spoken, yet nothing sinks in. You make dua, but it feels distant, hollow. And quietly, deep inside, you ask, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel far from God even though I'm doing all the right things? Here is the uncomfortable truth. The problem is not a lack of worship. The problem is the absence of a daily, honest spiritual routine. Something small, consistent, real. Something that reconnects you before life disconnects you again. No, a person doesn't fall apart overnight. They drift slowly, minute by minute, distraction by distraction, until the heart becomes heavy without knowing why. Islam never demanded perfection from you. It never asked you to be an angel. It asked you to be present. 7 minutes, not a burden, a lifeline. The first minute you stop, you truly stop. No phone, no noise, no escape. You sit and acknowledge, I am here, before Allah. That pause alone exposes how addicted we are to running from ourselves. The second minute, you admit, not out loud inside, Ya Allah, I'm tired, I slipped, I'm weak. This admission doesn't break you. It returns you to your humanity. The third minute, a simple remembrance, not long, but alive. Astaghfirullah. Not as a habit, but as a moment of cleaning. Remembering every time your heart ignored a divine warning. The fourth minute, one verse of Quran. Only one, but a verse that feels like it chose you, as if it was revealed now, as if Allah is speaking directly to you. The Quran doesn't need time, it needs openness. The fifth minute, a raw dua, not memorized, not polished. A dua that sounds like you. Say what you can't say to people. Allah listens even before words form. The 6th minute, an intention, a simple intention for the day. Ya Allah, help me not harm, help me not forget, help me stay close. Intention transforms routine into worship. The 7th minute, silence. Yes, silence. You allow space for Allah to fill your heart. Many people speak to God. Few give God room to speak to them. And this is where change begins, not loudly, not dramatically, but with a quiet calm settling inside. This routine won't make you flawless, but it will make you aware. And awareness is the beginning of every transformation. With time, your reactions soften. Sins that felt easy become heavy. Prayer turns from habit into appointment. You realize Allah never moved away. You simply walked back, step by step. Islam doesn't rebuild hearts through shock. It rebuilds them through consistency. And consistency isn't born from long hours. It is born from small, sincere minutes, repeated every single day. There is a quiet truth many people don't want to face. Most lives don't fall apart because of one big tragedy, but because of small moments that were ignored. Change doesn't always come from dramatic decisions or life-altering events. Often, it comes from a few intentional minutes that are protected every single day. When we talk about 7 minutes that can change your life forever, we are not speaking about a magical formula or a shortcut. We are speaking about something deeply human and deeply Islamic. Consistency with sincerity. The human heart is not transformed by pressure. It is softened by presence. And presence does not require hours. It requires honesty. Many people live with the illusion that transformation must be heavy, exhausting, and overwhelming. They believe that if they cannot give everything, then giving something is meaningless. This mindset alone paralyzes countless hearts. 7 minutes. Challenge this illusion. 7 minutes quietly say you don't need to fix your entire life today, but you do need to turn your heart back to its center. The soul does not need quantity to heal. It needs direction. When a person gives Allah 7 minutes of undivided attention, they are not offering time alone. They are offering priority. And priorities shape destinies. There is a reason why small acts done consistently are loved by Allah. The heart is not designed for spiritual shock therapy. It is designed for gentle, repeated reminders. 7 minutes Every day, teach the heart that Allah is not someone we run to only in crisis, but someone we sit with even when life is ordinary. That alone reshapes the inner world of a person. Over time, these minutes become anchors. No matter how chaotic the day becomes, the heart knows there is a moment of stillness waiting for it. That sense of safety is powerful. It calms anxiety, reduces inner noise, and creates emotional stability without the person even realizing when it started. What makes these minutes life-changing is not the clock, but what happens inside them. In those moments, the heart is trained to slow down. And slowing down is revolutionary in a world addicted to speed. Most sins happen in haste. Most regrets are born from unexamined reactions. When a person learns to pause daily before Allah, that pause begins to appear elsewhere in their life. Before speaking harshly, before making a harmful choice, before reacting emotionally. 7 minutes plant a habit of awareness, and awareness is the root of wisdom. Over time, something subtle but profound begins to shift. A person starts to feel the weight of their actions again, not in a guilt-driven, crushing way, but in a conscious way. The heart wakes up. What once felt normal begins to feel heavy. What once felt distant begins to feel close. This is how lives change forever, not by dramatic announcements, but by quiet internal realignment. A heart that checks in with Allah daily cannot remain lost for long. The second keynote flows naturally from the first. The daily routine that fixes your heart and mind. Human beings are creatures of habit, whether they admit it or not. The mind is shaped by repetition. The heart is shaped by what it regularly turns toward. If the daily routine revolves around noise, distraction, comparison, and pressure, the heart will inevitably feel restless and the mind overwhelmed. This is not a personal failure. It is a natural outcome. The soul was not created to live without rhythm. It needs a spiritual structure just as the body needs sleep and nourishment. A daily spiritual routine is not about adding more to an already heavy schedule. It is about removing what is unnecessary and returning to what is essential. When the heart lacks routine, it becomes reactive. Emotions feel unstable. Thoughts spiral easily. The mind jumps from worry to worry without rest. A small, intentional routine gives the mind a place to settle. It tells the brain, there is a moment each day where you don't have to perform, impress, or survive. You just get to be honest. That alone reduces internal tension in a way nothing else can. From a spiritual perspective, the heart rusts when it is neglected, not because the person is evil, but because the world is loud. A daily routine gently polishes that rust. It does not erase struggles, but it gives clarity. And clarity is what most people are missing. They don't know why they feel the way they feel. They don't know why certain sins keep repeating. They don't know why worship feels dry. A daily routine brings answers without words. It creates space for self-reflection. And reflection is where healing begins. The beauty of a simple daily routine is that it respects the reality of human weakness. It does not demand perfection. It expects fluctuation. Some days the heart will be present. Other days it will be distracted. The routine still holds. This consistency teaches the soul something essential. You are allowed to come to Allah as you are, not as you wish you were. That realization alone fixes much of what is broken inside people. So many hearts are exhausted from pretending to be spiritually strong. A daily routine removes the performance and replaces it with sincerity. Psychologically, routines create safety. When the mind knows what to expect, it relaxes. Spiritually, routines create intimacy. When the heart returns daily, familiarity grows. Allah is no longer perceived as distant or intimidating, but as near and aware. This perception changes how a person experiences life. Trials feel different. Success feels humbler. Failures feel less devastating. The heart is no longer navigating life alone. Over time, the routine begins to repair the inner dialogue of a person. Instead of constant self-criticism, there is gentler self-awareness. Instead of emotional chaos, there is grounding. Instead of feeling spiritually disconnected, there is a sense of being held. This does not mean the absence of pain. It means pain is no longer meaningless. The heart learns how to process emotions in the presence of Allah rather than suppressing them or acting them out. What truly fixes the heart and mind is not complexity, but truth. A daily routine creates a space where truth can surface. Truth about intentions, truth about fears, truth about attachments. And when truth is acknowledged, healing begins naturally. The heart was created to recognize its creator. When it is given even a few minutes daily to do so, it begins to function as it was meant to. Calm replaces confusion. Purpose replaces emptiness. Awareness replaces autopilot. This is why small routines outperform big resolutions. Big resolutions depend on motivation, and motivation fades. Small routines depend on commitment, and commitment builds identity. A person who shows up daily, even briefly, slowly becomes someone who values their inner life. And that identity influences every other choice they make. Relationships improve, emotional reactions soften, priorities realign. Not because the person tried harder, but because they became more present. In the end, the heart does not need to be pushed. It needs to be invited. 7 minutes are an invitation. A daily routine is an open door. Whoever walks through it consistently will find that what they thought was broken was often just unattended, and what is attended to with sincerity rarely remains damaged, though there is a silent pain. Many people carry but rarely confess the feeling of emptiness even while praying. The prayer is there, the movements are correct, the words are familiar, yet the heart feels untouched. This emptiness is deeply confusing because it creates an inner contradiction. A person wonders how they can be standing before Allah, doing what is right, yet feeling nothing. This confusion often turns into guilt, and guilt slowly turns into distance. The person begins to think something is wrong with them, that they are spiritually broken or that they are failing Allah. In reality, what they are experiencing is not failure, but disconnection. Emptiness does not come from prayer itself. Prayer is light. Emptiness comes from what surrounds the prayer. When the heart is constantly overstimulated, constantly rushed, constantly distracted, it loses its ability to be present. Presence is not automatic. It is a skill. Many people pray with their bodies while their mind are still in yesterday's worries or tomorrow's fears. The soul arrives late, if it arrives at all. Over time, the heart associates prayer with pressure instead of peace, with obligation instead of intimacy. This is not because prayer lacks power, but because the heart has not been prepared to receive it. One of the most overlooked truths is that the heart needs a transition. You cannot jump from noise into serenity without something breaking inside. When a person moves from endless scrolling, emotional conversations, mental stress, and constant multitasking straight into prayer, the heart resists. It feels forced. That resistance is often mistaken for hypocrisy or weakness when it is actually exhaustion. The soul is tired of being pulled in too many directions. Prayer, instead of feeling like relief, feels like another demand. Another reason emptiness appears is unresolved inner conflict. A heart carrying unexpressed grief, suppressed guilt, or unacknowledged fear struggles to feel sweetness in worship. The heart is preoccupied. It is not that Allah is distant, it is that the heart is crowded. Prayer exposes what we try to avoid. When emotions are ignored all day, they surface during prayer. Instead of meeting Allah, the person meets themselves, and that can be uncomfortable. So the heart retreats, numbs itself, and emptiness takes over. Many people also misunderstand what khushu truly is. They think it means intense emotion or constant tears. When that doesn't happen, they assume their prayer is empty. But khushu is not always emotional intensity. Sometimes it is quiet surrender. Sometimes it is showing up despite dryness. Sometimes it is standing honestly, even when the heart feels heavy. Expecting a constant emotional high creates disappointment. The heart then stops trying because it feels unrewarded. Emptiness grows not because Allah is withholding, but because expectations were misplaced. This is where a simple spiritual habit becomes transformative. Not a dramatic ritual, not an overwhelming list of actions, but something small and consistent that prepares the heart before prayer and sustains it after. Inner peace is not achieved by forcing calmness. It is cultivated by creating space. A simple habit, practiced daily, teaches the heart how to slow down, how to release what it is holding, how to arrive instead of rushing. Peace is not something added to the heart. It is what remains when the noise is gently removed. A habit as simple as a few moments of silence before prayer can change everything. Silence is uncomfortable at first because it confronts us with ourselves. But that discomfort is the doorway to peace. When a person allows silence to exist, the mind begins to settle. Thoughts don't disappear, but they soften. The heart begins to descend from the chaos of the day. This descent is essential. Without it, prayer feels like an interruption. With it, prayer becomes a continuation. Another simple habit is intentional remembrance outside of prayer. Not rushed, not mechanical, but chosen. When the heart remembers Allah during ordinary moments, prayer stops being the only point of connection. It becomes part of a larger relationship. This removes pressure from the prayer itself. The heart no longer expects prayer to carry the entire emotional weight of spirituality. Instead, prayer becomes a meeting point, not a rescue mission. Inner peace also grows when a person learns to speak honestly to Allah outside of formal supplication. Speaking in one's own words creates emotional release. It removes the barrier of performance. When the heart feels heard, it relaxes. A relaxed heart receives peace more easily. Over time, this habit teaches the soul that Allah is not only present during structured worship, but also in vulnerability, confusion, and quiet moments of reflection. Psychologically, peace comes from integration. When a person's inner world and outer actions are aligned, tension decreases. A simple spiritual habit helps with this alignment. It reminds the person who they are beyond their roles, responsibilities, and mistakes. It grounds them. This grounding is what many people mistake for peace. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of stability within them. When emptiness begins to fade, it doesn't disappear dramatically. It loosens its grip slowly. Prayer begins to feel lighter, even if emotions are still subtle. The heart stops demanding immediate results and starts trusting the process. This trust is powerful. It reduces spiritual anxiety. The person no longer measures their worth by how they feel in prayer, but by their willingness to return. That shift alone brings relief. A simple habit also builds resilience. On difficult days, when motivation is low and faith feels fragile, the habit still holds. It becomes a familiar refuge. The heart knows where to go. This consistency reassures the soul. It creates a sense of continuity in a world that feels unstable. Peace grows not because life becomes easier, but because the heart becomes steadier. As the habit continues, the person begins to notice subtle changes. Reactions soften. Patience increases. The mind becomes less reactive. These changes are not forced. They emerge naturally. Inner peace is not something chased. It is something uncovered. And what uncovers it is not intensity, but sincerity repeated over time. The heart was never meant to be constantly stimulated or constantly judged. It was meant to be nurtured. Emptiness is often a signal, not a punishment. It signals the need for gentleness, not harshness. When a person responds to emptiness with simple, consistent care, the heart responds with openness. And in that openness, peace quietly begins to settle, not loudly, not perfectly, but steadily, in a way that continues to deepen the more the heart feels safe. Enough to remain present. Many people search for closeness to Allah as if it is something distant, hidden, or reserved for a special category of people. They imagine that reconnecting with Allah requires dramatic transformation, advanced knowledge, or a level of spiritual purity they do not believe they possess. This belief quietly keeps them away. It convinces them that they must first fix themselves before they are allowed to return. In reality, reconnection does not begin with perfection. It begins with honesty. Allah is not waiting for a flawless version of you. He is waiting for the real one. Reconnecting with Allah does not require hours of isolation or a complete withdrawal from life. It requires presence. A few intentional minutes, protected daily, can reopen a relationship that feels distant. Distance from Allah is rarely about physical actions alone. It is about attention. When attention is constantly given to everything else, the heart slowly drifts. Reconnection happens when attention is gently brought back. Not forcefully, not all at once, but consistently. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make is changing how they approach Allah. Many approach Him only when something goes wrong. Dua becomes an emergency response rather than a daily conversation. This creates a relationship built on crisis, not companionship. Reconnecting in minutes a day means returning to Allah in ordinary moments, speaking to Him without needing a reason, sitting with Him without asking for anything. This removes pressure from the relationship and restores intimacy. The heart reconnects when it feels safe. Safety comes from knowing you are not being measured in that moment. When a person allows themselves to sit before Allah without judgment, without self-criticism, the heart softens. This softness is essential. A hardened heart resists connection, not because it rejects Allah, but because it fears exposure. Gentleness disarms that fear. Even a few minutes of gentle presence can begin to dissolve years of emotional distance. Over time, these minutes create familiarity. Allah is no longer perceived as distant or unreachable. His remembrance becomes woven into daily life. This familiarity changes how a person experiences both ease and hardship. In ease, there is gratitude without arrogance. In hardship, there is reliance without despair. The heart no longer feels alone in its struggles. Reconnection is not about escaping problems, it is about not facing them alone. The secret routine practiced by spiritually strong people is rarely visible. It is not loud, impressive, or talked about. It is simple and deeply personal. Spiritually strong people are not those without weakness. They are those who consistently return. They have learned that the heart needs regular maintenance, just like the body. They do not wait until they are spiritually exhausted to reconnect. They protect small moments daily to realign. What makes this routine powerful is its sincerity. There is no performance, no audience, no comparison. It is a private agreement between the servant and Allah. This privacy is what gives it strength. When worship is detached from validation, it becomes lighter. The heart feels free to be honest. And honesty is where real spiritual growth happens. Spiritually strong people understand that discipline is not harshness. It is kindness with structure. Their routines are not rigid schedules that punish failure, but flexible anchors that guide them back when they drift. They expect fluctuation. They accept low days, but they do not abandon their connection. This mindset protects them from despair. They know that missing a moment does not mean losing the relationship. Another secret of their routine is consistency over intensity. They do not chase emotional highs. They value steadiness. This steadiness builds resilience. When faith feels strong, the routine deepens it. When faith feels weak, the routine carries it. Over time, the heart learns that connection to Allah is not dependent on mood. This realization is liberating. It removes the fear of spiritual inconsistency. Spiritually strong people also prioritize inner alignment. Their routines help them notice when their actions and intentions drift apart. This awareness allows for early correction. Small adjustments prevent major breakdowns. This is why their faith appears stable. It is not untouched by trials. It is maintained through them. These routines often include moments of silence, reflection, and remembrance that appear insignificant to others. But these moments accumulate. They shape the inner voice of a person. Instead of constant self-criticism, there is self-awareness paired with mercy. Instead of reacting impulsively, there is pause. Instead of emotional overwhelm, there is grounding. This inner strength is what people often admire without understanding where it comes from. Reconnecting with Allah in minutes a day and adopting a simple, sincere routine does not remove struggle from life. It reframes it. Struggle becomes meaningful. Pain becomes a place of meeting rather than isolation. The heart learns to turn toward Allah instinctively, not only in worship, but in emotion, thought, and decision-making. As this connection deepens, something quiet but profound happens. The heart begins to trust, not necessarily that everything will be easy, but that nothing will be wasted. This trust brings calm. Calm brings clarity. Clarity brings better choices. and better choices slowly reshape a life from the inside out. Spiritually strong people are not immune to doubt, fatigue, or weakness. They simply know where to return. Their secret is not strength but direction. And direction is sustained through small, daily acts of presence. When these acts are protected, the heart remains oriented, even when the path feels unclear.